Merry meet and blessed be. I'm Iden Odinson. Welcome to the Sabbath School class. This is going to be offered under a new name very soon in a very different pastor's study. Well, we do this more often than the Sabbaths now, don't we? We do this more often than the Sabbaths, and, well, it does parallel what you would in some denominations find if you went to the pastor's study for a discussion. So we'll call it that. Still part of Uriel's gifts, and we've got Yule coming up. But today we're talking about to will. We've done to dare. Last time we did to know. To will. If we dare and know, then the next thing to do is to will, because it's the source of your spiritual strength. Nothing gives you strength like your will. Nothing weakens you spiritually like the lack of will, which is why it's such an issue. When I first came into the craft, I asked a group of people who I really respected, what is the most important and what is the least important in spell work? And one lady who I still look up to, who was known as Yonda in those days on BBS networks, she stepped right up and answered, the most important thing is your will. The least important is the doodads you use to bring it about. I have found that point, both of them, repeatedly revalidated over the years. Now, what are we talking about here? Well, let me tell you something about to will. One of the best examples in mundane terms that I've ever seen had to do with the subject of firearms. And it was stated by none other than John Wayne. Yes, I am a major John Wayne fan. It was stated by John Wayne in the character of J.B. Books in the Shootist. And he said, if I recall right, I'm not going to call this a direct quote. It's not being fast or even accurate that counts. It's being willing. I learned early on that most men aren't willing. They'll blink an eye or take a breath before they pull the trigger. I won't. Willing. Being willing. I seem to recall that he added that most men, regardless of cause or need, weren't willing. Yeah. Regardless of cause or need. Now, how does that go over into such things as prayer and spell work? Which, yes, are basically the same thing, aren't they? Well, you mentioned will. And someone is going to think of God's will, which is a cop-out, often used to make prayer ineffective. I've seen that happen in prayers of most urgent need. And somebody adds in, if it be thy will. Somebody's dying, or it's the prayer said ahead of the last meal for somebody who's facing lethal injection. And it's, if it be thy will. And then, of course, there are others who will try to use God's will, or what they claim it to be, as a weapon to make your own spiritual workings ineffective. Or they'll try that. And I got one basic question. Who do these people think they are who claim to speak for a god or a goddess or some other divinity and proclaim divine will? Who do these people think they are? The will of the divine is and has to be that which is best for you and that which gives you happiness. It is and has to be. Don't tell me that it's anything else. And your will needs to be similar. And that's at the heart of the rules that we have to follow about what we may do and what we must not do. And yeah, at the heart of decision making when you're in a fuzzy area, in one of those gray areas. You know by now the reasons why we don't harm another. Except, of course, in self-defense or the defense of others. And I've even heard arguments about that. And then, of course, absolutely, we don't use it to manipulate the will of others. Asking for love to come to you, especially asking for love to come to you that comes with the purity of heart that you'd like to be on the receiving end of, that's perfectly fine. But not for the love of the girl that sits next to you in English class, or somebody that you work with. No. But except for those boundaries. Except for those boundaries. You don't want to manipulate somebody to go to where they wouldn't go by themselves. You know? But except for that, okay. If you're not actually willing, don't bother. And if you don't know what you're going to do, if it happens, wait a moment and figure it out. Yeah. If you want to know what I mean, take a look at the history of Powerball winners. A lot of the state lotteries here in the U.S. have the Powerball game. And it has a very large jackpot. And then there's Mega Millions, which also has a big jackpot. And I remember when state lotteries started out. California State Lottery, the biggest prize was $1 million. Well, you find out how many of those people became unhappy, went through some stuff that you wouldn't wish on an enemy, or even went bankrupt. Okay. So what am I going to do if I get the jackpot on the Powerball? Or, for that matter, in terms of something even more practical, what if somebody were to come along and say, Aiden, I like your podcast. I like your videocast. I'd like to see you do more of it. and I need a very large tax deduction. Therefore, here's my checkbook, and I'm going to write out a check that'll get your ministries going. Well, you know what? I have a plan for any of those sort of things. Yes. I do have a plan. How this would grow. I've thought about it. That's part of being willing. What are you looking for? Getting admitted to a really good school to advance your education? Okay. What are you going to do if you get admitted? You looking for a promotion on your job? You're looking for an investment opportunity that's going to pay off in spite of the current economy? You're looking for security? Claim it. Know what you're going to be doing. That's part of being willing. That's a very big part of being willing. It's a part of building your thought form. And I know we've discussed that. The thought form that builds. You're building that. And in your inner eye, you will see what it'll be like and what you'll do with it. And what it'll do for you. Will it. To dare. To know. To will. I mightn't. Blessed be. Uriel's Gifts and The Secrets in Plain Sight are sponsored by the Temple of Gaia. At Temple of Gaia, we don't train you to our path. We show you how to find and pursue your own path. Above all, we tried to provide a great place to come together and to share. We're located in Collingdale, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, and wherever cyberspace can be reached. To learn more, visit our website at templeofgaiainc.org or our meeting place in cyberspace at templeofgaia.ning.com. Thank you for coming. Feel free to return at any time. We intend to always have something for you here. Blessed be. This has been a presentation of the Wise Ones Net. Merry part and blessed be.